Marcus Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead as he guided his supply transport through the rocky canyon of Kepler 442b. The mining colony supply run should have been routine, but the ion storm 3 days ago had knocked out half the navigation systems across the sector. Now he was taking the old freight routes through terrain that made his cargo hauler groan with every bump. The sun was setting behind the jagged peaks, casting long shadows across the red-orange landscape. Marcus knew he needed to find shelter soon. The temperature would drop 40 degrees after dark, and his heater was already running at maximum capacity. He spotted what looked like a cave system ahead, carved into the cliff face by centuries of wind erosion. As he maneuvered the transport toward the shelter, something caught his eye. A glint of metal among the rocks, about 50 meters from the cave entrance. Marcus slowed the vehicle and squinted through the dusty windshield. It looked like debris from a crashed ship, but the design was wrong. Too sleek, too organic-looking compared to human vessels. He parked the transport and grabbed his emergency kit from the back seat. The air outside was thin but breathable, though the cold bit at his exposed skin immediately. Marcus approached the wreckage carefully, his hand resting on the plasma cutter at his belt. Not that it would do much good against serious threats, but it made him feel better. The crashed vessel was unlike anything in the human ship databases. The hull seemed to flow like liquid metal frozen in motion, with no visible seams or joints. Most of it was buried under a rockfall, but one section remained intact. As Marcus circled the wreck, he heard something that made him freeze. A soft, whimpering sound, barely audible above the wind. He followed the sound to a gap in the hull, where the metal had been torn open like paper. Inside, huddled in what remained of the cockpit, was a child. At least, Marcus assumed it was a child, though it was clearly not human. The girl appeared to be maybe 10 or 11 years old in human terms, but her skin had a subtle blue-green tint that shifted color slightly in the fading light. Her hair was silver white and seemed to move on its own, like it was underwater. Most striking were her eyes, large, violet-colored, and filled with intelligence that seemed far older than her apparent age. She was injured. Marcus could see blood seeping through tears in her strange, form-fitting clothing. The blood was red, which somehow surprised him. When she saw him, she pressed herself deeper into the wreckage, making a sound that was part whimper, part hiss. Marcus raised his hands slowly, keeping his voice calm and low. "Hey there. I'm not going to hurt you. My name is Marcus. Are you okay?" The girl stared at him with those enormous violet eyes. After a moment, she spoke in accented but clearly understandable English. "You are human." It wasn't a question. Marcus nodded slowly. "Yes. Are you hurt? I can see you're bleeding." She looked down at her injuries, then back at him. "My ship was damaged in the ion storm. The emergency landing was unsuccessful. I have been here for 2 days. 2 days. In this cold, without proper shelter." Marcus felt his chest tighten. He'd seen what exposure could do to humans out here. He had no idea how this alien child had survived. "What's your name?" he asked, taking a small step closer. "I am." She paused, as if considering whether to trust him with the information. "I am Zara." "Zara? That's a pretty name. Listen, Zara. It's going to get very cold tonight. Colder than the last 2 nights. I have a transport with heat and medical supplies. Will you let me help you?" Zara tilted her head, studying him with an intensity that was unsettling. "Why would you help me? I am not of your species." The question caught Marcus off guard. Why would he help? Because she was a child, injured, and alone. Because leaving her here would be murder. Because it was the right thing to do. All of those answers seemed too simple and too complicated at the same time. "Because you need help," he said finally. Something changed in Zara's expression, a tiny relaxation of the tension around her eyes. "You speak truth. I can sense such things. But I must warn you, human Marcus, my people are not like yours. We are not peaceful traders or miners. My family, we are." She searched for the right words. "We are weapons. Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. Weapons? Assassins, Zara said simply. The best in 7 sectors, and my mother will come for me. The smart thing would be to walk away. Marcus knew that. Report the crash to colonial authorities, and let them handle it. But looking at this child, hurt and alone, speaking with matter-of-fact acceptance about being abandoned to die on a hostile world, he couldn't do it. How long until she comes? He asked. I do not know. The distress beacon was damaged. Perhaps days, perhaps hours. But she will come. Marcus made his decision. Then we'd better get you patched up before she does. Can you walk? Zara nodded and began to extract herself from the wreckage. Marcus saw that she moved with fluid grace despite her injuries. As she stood, he realized she was taller than he'd first thought, maybe 5.5 feet. The proportions had fooled him in the confined space of the cockpit. He led her to his transport, opening the rear cargo area, which was insulated and warm. I've got a medical kit and some food. Nothing fancy, but it should help. As Zara climbed into the transport, Marcus caught a glimpse of something at her belt. A weapon, definitely, but unlike anything he'd seen. It looked like a handle attached to nothing, but he could sense dangerous energy contained within it. You are frightened of me, Zara observed as he opened the medical kit. A little, Marcus admitted. Should I be? Yes, she said simply. But you help me anyway. This is unusual. Most species would either flee or attempt to capture me for profit. Marcus began cleaning the cuts on her arm with antiseptic. Most humans would probably do the same thing I'm doing. Zara winced as the antiseptic stung, but her voice remained steady. I find that difficult to believe. Compassion for other species is rare in the galaxy. Most civilizations barely manage it for their own kind. Maybe that's why humans are different, Marcus said, applying a bandage to the worst of her cuts. We've had to learn to get along with each other, or we would have destroyed ourselves long ago. We're still working on it, but we've made progress. You speak of your species as if you are all connected, as if the actions of one reflect on all. In a way, we are. Every choice we make shapes what it means to be human. Every act of kindness or cruelty becomes part of our story. Zara was quiet as he worked on her other injuries. Finally, she spoke. My people do not think this way. We are taught that strength comes from standing alone, that weakness is helping others when there is no benefit to oneself. Is that what you believe? I did. But you have given me food and shelter, tended my wounds, despite knowing I am dangerous, despite knowing my mother will kill you when she arrives. This challenges my understanding. Marcus handed her a food packet, one of the better ones from his personal supplies. Maybe that's not weakness you were taught about. Maybe it's the most important kind of strength there is. Zara opened the food packet carefully, examining the contents. It was standard colony fare. Processed protein, reconstituted vegetables, vitamin supplements. Nothing special, but she ate it with the focused attention of someone who hadn't had a proper meal in days. This food, she said after several bites. It is ordinary, yet you give it freely. On my world, food is hoarded, traded for favors, used as a tool of control. No one, simply, gives. Everyone gets hungry, Marcus said. Seems wrong to let someone starve when you have food to share. And if sharing means you have less for yourself? Marcus shrugged. Then I have less. But you have something. That matters more than me having a little extra. Zara stared at him for a long moment. You are either the most foolish creature I have ever encountered, or the wisest. Probably a little of both, Marcus admitted. As Zara finished eating, Marcus set up a small heater and arranged sleeping bags in the cargo area. The transport wasn't luxurious, but it was warm and secure. Through the small window, he could see the first stars appearing in the darkening sky. Marcus, Zara said quietly, when my mother arrives, you must not attempt to fight her. She has killed beings far more dangerous than you. Promise me, you will run. I promise I'll try to keep us both safe, he said carefully. That is not what I asked. It's the only promise I can make. Zara studied his face in the dim light. You would risk your life for someone you met hours ago. Someone who is not even your species. I begin to understand why the galaxy fears humanity. Fears us? Why would anyone fear us? We're barely out of our own solar system. Because of this, Zara gestured at the food packets, the medical supplies, the warm shelter. Because you make weapons of kindness. Because you turn enemies into allies without them realizing it has happened. Because you are willing to die for principles that benefit others more than yourselves. Marcus felt uncomfortable with the idea that compassion could be seen as threatening. That doesn't sound like something to be afraid of, does it not? Imagine you are a ruler who maintains power through fear and scarcity. Then you encounter a species that shares resources freely, that helps others without expecting payment, that builds bridges instead of walls. How long before your own people begin to ask why they cannot have the same? The implications of what Zara was saying began to sink in. Marcus had never thought of human behavior in those terms, but from the perspective of an authoritarian society, human compassion could indeed be destabilizing. Is that why your people are assassins? To maintain that kind of control? Among other reasons, we serve the highest bidder. But yes, we often eliminate those who might inspire change. It is what we do, what you've been taught to do, Marcus corrected gently. Zara was quiet for a long time. Finally, she curled up in one of the sleeping bags. I have much to consider. Thank you, Marcus of the humans. For the food, for the healing, for the perspective. Get some sleep, Marcus said. Whatever happens tomorrow, you'll need your strength. As Zara drifted off to sleep, Marcus sat awake, staring out at the alien stars. He thought about her words, about the implications of human behavior in a galaxy where kindness was apparently rare enough to be revolutionary. He thought about her mother, coming to retrieve her daughter, expecting to find weakness, and instead finding what? He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but Marcus was certain of one thing. He would not abandon Zara. Whatever consequences that brought, he would face them. Because that's what humans did, that's who they were. Outside, the wind howled through the canyon, and somewhere among the stars, an assassin was coming home. Marcus woke to the sound of Zara's sharp intake of breath. The transport's interior was still dark, the heater humming quietly. But something had changed. He could feel it in the air, a tension that made his skin crawl. She comes, Zara whispered, her voice carrying a mixture of relief and terror that made Marcus's blood run cold. He sat up slowly, listening. At first, he heard only the wind and the settling of metal as the transport cooled. Then, cutting through the natural sounds of the canyon, came something else, a low, thrumming hum that seemed to come from everywhere at once. How long do we have? Marcus asked quietly. Minutes. Perhaps less. Zara was already moving, checking her strange weapon, and adjusting her torn clothing. Marcus, you must listen to me now. When my mother arrives, you will be terrified. That is not weakness. It is intelligence. She is engineered to inspire fear, to freeze prey in place while she evaluates threats. Engineered? My people modify ourselves for our profession. Enhanced speed, strength, reflexes, pheromone production to induce terror in most species, sensory augmentation to detect lies, hidden weapons, emotional states. She is a living weapon, designed to kill efficiently and without hesitation. Marcus felt his mouth go dry. And you? I am young. My modifications are incomplete. But I am still more dangerous than any human. She paused, looking at him with those violet eyes. But I find I do not wish to be. Not to you. The humming grew louder, and through the transport's small windows, Marcus could see lights moving in the darkness above. Not the warm glow of human technology, but cold, blue-white beams that swept across the canyon like searching fingers. There is something else you must know, Zara said urgently. My mother will attempt to read your emotional state, to determine if you have harmed me. if you pose a threat, if you have contaminated me with alien ideas. You must be honest in your thoughts. Any deception will result in immediate execution. Contaminated you? Exposure to other species sometimes changes young assassins. We become less effective, less willing to kill without question. It is considered a form of disease among my people. Marcus understood. Zara was warning him that her mother would be looking for signs that human compassion had infected her daughter, which, from what Marcus could see, it had. The lights grew brighter, and the humming resolved into the sound of engines unlike anything in human engineering. They seemed to sing rather than roar. A harmonious vibration that felt more alive than mechanical. Remember, Zara said, gripping his arm. Do not run. Do not reach for weapons. Show no aggression, but also no submission. Stand as you are. Speak truth, and hope that what you have shown me of humanity is enough. The ship landed without a sound. Through the window, Marcus caught a glimpse of it. A vessel that looked grown rather than built. All flowing curves and organic lines that seemed to shift in the light. A hatch opened, and a figure emerged. Even at a distance, Marcus could feel the wrongness of it. His hindbrain screamed at him to run, to hide, to do anything but stand and wait for that thing to reach him. But he held his ground, focusing on Zara's words about engineered fear responses. The figure moved with inhuman grace, covering the distance between ship and transport in seconds that felt like hours. When it reached the transport, there was a moment of absolute silence. Then the cargo door simply opened. Marcus hadn't heard any tools, any force. The lock had simply disengaged, as if the transport itself had decided to surrender. She stood in the doorway, and Marcus understood immediately why Zara had tried to prepare him. The creature before him was beautiful and terrible in equal measure, 7 feet tall, with the same blue-green skin as Zara, but darker, more metallic. Her hair moved like living liquid silver, and her eyes were the color of deep space, black with points of light that seemed to shift and swirl. But it was more than her appearance. Something in Marcus's primitive brain recognized apex predator. Every instinct screamed that he was looking at death incarnate. Something designed to hunt and kill his species. His hands trembled despite his efforts to control them. "Mother," Zara said, rising from her sleeping bag. Her voice was steady, but Marcus could see the tension in her posture. The assassin's gaze swept over the transport's interior, taking in the medical supplies, the food wrappers, the makeshift shelter. When her eyes settled on Marcus, he felt like a specimen under a microscope. "Explain," she said. Her voice was beautiful, melodic, and completely without warmth. Zara stood straighter. "My ship was damaged in the ion storm. Emergency landing protocols failed. I have been stranded for 3 days. This human found me and provided medical aid, food, and shelter." The assassin stepped fully into the transport, and Marcus felt the temperature seem to drop 10 degrees. She moved around the cramped space like a shark circling prey, examining everything with those terrifying eyes. "You were injured," she observed, noting the bandages on Zara's arm. "Cuts from the crash debris." The human cleaned and dressed the wounds. "You consumed alien food." "I was starving, Mother." The human shared his supplies freely. Freely. The word seemed to taste strange in her mouth. She turned those void-like eyes on Marcus. "You are Marcus Chen, transport operator for the Kepler 442b mining consortium. 32 years old, no immediate family, clean criminal record. You served 2 tours with Earth Defense before becoming a civilian contractor." Marcus blinked. "How do you—" Silence. The command hit him like a physical blow. "I accessed your personnel files while my ship was landing. I know everything about you that data can provide. What I do not know is why you aided my daughter." Here it was, the question Zara had warned him about. Marcus looked into those terrible, beautiful eyes and spoke the truth. "Because she needed help." "Elaborate." "She was injured, alone, cold, and hungry. I had medical supplies, food, and shelter, so I helped her." The assassin moved closer, and Marcus felt that overwhelming wrongness intensify. His body wanted to collapse, to curl up in a ball and wait for death. Instead, he forced himself to stand straight and meet her gaze. You expected no payment? No reward? No advantage? No. You did not attempt to capture her for profit? Study? Political leverage? No. You did not use her vulnerability to gain information about my species? Our technology? Our weaknesses? Our weaknesses. Our weaknesses. Our 10. Marcus almost said no automatically, then caught himself. I asked questions about her people, her culture, but not for intelligence gathering. Because I was curious, and because understanding her helped me help her better. Something flickered in those dark eyes. Truth. Interesting. And when she told you she was dangerous? That her family were assassins? What was your response? I was scared, Marcus admitted. But she was still hurt. Still needed help. That didn't change. I see an state. You chose to aid a creature you knew could kill you. Yes. Why? Marcus struggled to find words that would make sense to this alien intelligence. Because fear is a reason to be careful, not a reason to abandon compassion. The assassin was silent for a long moment. Then she turned to Zara. Show me your arm. Zara extended her bandaged arm, and her mother carefully unwrapped the dressing. Marcus watched as she examined the wounds with professional thoroughness. Clean cuts. Properly dressed. Showing good healing progress. No signs of infection or contamination. She rewrapped the bandage with movements that were somehow both gentle and clinical. You did this? She asked Marcus. Yes. You have medical training? Basic field medicine. Military training. These wounds could have become infected in this environment. Without proper care, they could have killed her slowly. She straightened, fixing Marcus with that disturbing stare. You saved my daughter's life. It wasn't a question, but Marcus nodded anyway. The assassin moved to where the food wrappers lay, examining them carefully. You gave her your personal supplies, the high nutrition, high-calorie rations. You kept the standard issue for yourself. Marcus glanced at Zara, who was watching this interrogation with an expression he couldn't read. She needed the calories more than I did. She'd been without food for 2 days. And you slept here, in this confined space, with a creature you knew to be dangerous, leaving yourself vulnerable to attack while you rested. I trusted her. Based on what evidence? Based on who she showed herself to be. Smart, honest, scared but brave, someone worth trusting. The assassin turned to her daughter. And you, child? What do you make of this human's behavior? Zara straightened, and when she spoke, her voice carried a conviction that surprised Marcus. He is like no being I have encountered, Mother. He acts without seeking advantage. He helps without demanding payment. He trusts without requiring proof. And he has made me question everything we believe about strength and weakness. The temperature in the transport seemed to drop another 10 degrees. Explain that statement. I have been taught that compassion is weakness. That helping others without benefit is foolish. That trust must be earned through fear or transaction. But this human shows me that these things might be the greatest strength of all. He turned an enemy into an ally through kindness alone. He inspired loyalty through trust. He created safety through vulnerability. I do not understand how this is possible. But I have seen it work. The assassin was very still for a very long time. Marcus could feel danger radiating from her like heat from a furnace. When she spoke, her voice carried undertones that made his bones ache. You speak of contamination, of allowing alien philosophies to corrupt your purpose. I speak of learning, Mother, of discovering that perhaps our way is not the only way, perhaps not even the best way. And you believe this because of one human's behavior? I believe this because one human's behavior changed everything I thought I knew about the universe. The silence stretched until Marcus thought he might scream from the tension. Then the assassin did something unexpected. She laughed. It was not a sound of humor, but something darker, more complex. Zara, child of my blood, you have indeed been contaminated. And perhaps, she paused, looking directly at Marcus. Perhaps that is not entirely unfortunate. She moved to the transport's door, then stopped and turned back. Marcus Chen, you have created a problem for me. My daughter speaks of learning and change, concepts that are dangerous to our way of life. She looks at you as if you have shown her light in darkness she did not know existed. This places me in an impossible situation. Marcus felt his heart hammering. What situation? According to the laws of my people, I should kill you both. You, for corrupting her. Her, for allowing herself to be corrupted. But... She tilted her head, studying them both. But you saved her life. You showed her kindness when you could have shown her exploitation. You chose trust over fear, compassion over advantage. And she is my daughter. The only thing in this universe that I value above duty. She stepped back outside, then looked over her shoulder. You have until dawn to decide what you wish to do with the gift I am giving you. Both of you. Choose wisely. The cargo door closed behind her with a soft click, leaving Marcus and Zara alone in the sudden silence. Marcus sat in the silence, trying to process what had just happened. His hands were still shaking from the encounter with Zara's mother, and he could feel adrenaline coursing through his system like liquid fire. Outside, he could see the alien ship, its organic curves somehow menacing even in stillness. She didn't kill us, he said finally. No, Zara agreed, but her voice was troubled. She did not. But Marcus, you must understand. What she said about Dawn, about choosing. It is not a gift. It is a test. What kind of test? Zara moved to the small window, looking out at her mother's ship. She wants to see what we will do with the time she has given us. Whether we will run, hide, try to escape. Whether I will choose duty to my people, or something else. And if we fail the test, then she kills us both before the sun fully rises. Marcus rubbed his face, trying to think clearly. What does she want us to choose? I think, Zara paused, seeming to gather her thoughts. I think she wants to know if what you have shown me is real. If human compassion can truly change someone like me, or if it is just a temporary weakness that will fade when tested. And what do you think? Will it fade? Zara turned from the window to face him. 3 days ago, I would have killed you without hesitation if ordered. I would have felt nothing but satisfaction at completing my task. Now, the thought of harm coming to you causes me physical pain. You have not just changed my mind, Marcus. You have changed my heart. The weight of responsibility settled on Marcus's shoulders like a heavy cloak. Somehow, without meaning to, he had become the catalyst for something much larger than just helping an injured traveler. So what do we do? We have options, Zara said, moving to sit across from him in the cramped space. We could attempt to escape. You have a transport, knowledge of the local terrain. My mother would pursue us, but there is a small chance we could reach the mining colony before she caught us. What are our odds? Perhaps 5%. She is faster, better equipped, and knows my capabilities perfectly. But it is possible. Marcus nodded. What's the second option? I could return with her. Resume my training. Pretend that your influence was temporary, madness brought on by trauma. Eventually, I would become like her. A perfect weapon. Without conscience or compassion. You would live, but you would never see me again, and everything you showed me would be lost. And the third option? Zara was quiet for a long moment. The third option is the most dangerous for both of us. But perhaps the only one that matters. We stay. We face her at dawn and show her that what has happened between us is not weakness or contamination. We show her that it is strength. How do we do that? By being what you have taught me to be. By choosing compassion over fear, trust over suspicion, hope over despair. Even when facing death, Marcus looked out at the alien ship, thinking about the creature inside it. Beautiful. Terrible. Designed to kill. But also a mother who had crossed space to find her daughter, a being who had spared them both when duty demanded their deaths. There's something else, isn't there? Something you haven't told me about your mother. Zara's expression grew pained. You see much. For a human. Yes. There is something else. My mother was not always an assassin. When she was young, she was different. Softer. But the galaxy taught her that softness leads to death, that compassion is a luxury only the strong can afford. She became what she is because she believed it was the only way to survive. And now she sees her daughter choosing a different path. A path that leads either to strength beyond anything she has known, or to death. She wants to know which it will be. Ask Kay. She wants to know which it will be. Marcus stood and moved to his supply crate, pulling out his remaining food and water. Then let's show her. What are you doing? Making breakfast. For all three of us. Zara stared at him. Marcus. She is a deadly predator. You cannot simply invite her to a meal. Why not? She's also a mother who just found her lost daughter. She must be tired, maybe hungry, and... He paused, looking at Zara. Maybe she needs to see that humans don't just help strangers. We help everyone who needs it, even our enemies. She could kill you the moment you approach her ship. She could have killed me when she first arrived. She didn't. That has to mean something. Marcus gathered the food and a small heating unit, then moved toward the door. Besides, you said the test is about showing her that what we have is real. What's more real than proving that human compassion extends even to those who terrify us? He opened the door and stepped out into the cold morning air. The sun was beginning to rise over the canyon walls, painting the rocks in shades of gold and red. It would be full dawn soon. Zara followed him, her hand hovering near her weapon but not drawing it. Marcus, if this goes wrong, then at least we'll have tried to do the right thing. They approached the alien ship slowly. Marcus carried the food and heating unit openly, making no aggressive movements. As they drew closer, he could see details of the vessel that had been hidden in the darkness. It was even more organic than he had first thought, with surfaces that seemed to pulse gently like living skin. A section of the hull simply melted away as they approached, revealing the assassin standing in what must have been the ship's main cabin. She watched them come with those terrible, beautiful eyes, her expression unreadable. Marcus stopped about 10 feet from the entrance and set down the heating unit. I thought you might be hungry, he called out. We don't have much, but you're welcome to share. The assassin tilted her head, studying him. You approach a creature you know can kill you, bearing food instead of weapons. This is either profound courage or profound foolishness. Maybe both, Marcus admitted, beginning to heat the food packets. Does it? You have known my daughter for hours. I am a stranger to you, and a dangerous one. You're not a stranger. You're the person who raised the remarkable young woman who honored me with her trust. You crossed the galaxy to find her when she was lost. You spared both our lives when your laws demanded our deaths. Those aren't the actions of a monster. The assassin was quiet for a moment. Then, to Marcus's amazement, she stepped out of her ship and approached them. Up close, she was even more intimidating. But Marcus held his ground. You truly believe this, she said, and it wasn't a question. You see me, know what I am, and still offer kindness. I see someone who loves her daughter enough to risk everything for her, Marcus replied, handing her a heated food packet. Everything else is just profession. She accepted the food with movements that were precise and deadly graceful. My name is Kira. And you are correct. I was not always what I am now. Once, I was much like what my daughter is becoming. What changed? Kira took a small bite of the food, her expression thoughtful. The galaxy is not kind to those who show weakness. I learned to be strong, to be feared, because fear was the only thing that kept my daughter and me safe. But watching her with you, seeing how your simple kindness has affected her, I remember what I was like before the universe taught me to be hard. Zara spoke up. Mother, what Marcus has shown me is not weakness. It is the greatest strength there is. the strength to remain good in a universe that rewards cruelty, the strength to help others even when it costs you, the strength to trust even when betrayal seems certain. Kira looked between them, her dark eyes reflecting the growing dawn light. And you believe this strength can survive? Can prosper in a galaxy where compassion is seen as vulnerability? I believe it can change the galaxy, Zara said firmly. One person at a time. One act of kindness at a time. The way Marcus changed me. And you, human? Do you share this optimistic view? Marcus thought about it carefully before answering. I think change starts small. With one person helping another. With one act of compassion, inspiring the next. I don't know if humans can change the galaxy, but I know we have to try. Because the alternative is a universe where no one helps anyone, where everyone is alone and afraid. I'd rather die trying to make something better than live in a world like that. 1. Kira finished her food in silence, watching the sun rise over the canyon walls. When full dawn arrived, she stood and faced them both. My daughter, you have indeed been contaminated by human ideals. You speak of strength where I see only vulnerability, of hope where I see only naivety, but... She paused, looking directly at Marcus. This human has shown me something I had forgotten, that there is more than one kind of strength in the universe. She moved to Zara and placed a hand on her daughter's cheek. You are my child, and I love you more than duty, more than law, more than my own life. If you choose this path, I will not stop you. But I cannot walk it with you. Mother, no, child. I am too old, too set in my ways. The galaxy made me into a weapon, and I cannot unmake what has been forged. But you still have choices, and this human has shown you possibilities I never dreamed existed. Kira turned to Marcus. You have done something remarkable, human. You have taken a creature bred for killing and taught her to create instead of destroy. You have shown her that strength can be gentle, that power can be kind. Do you understand the magnitude of what you have accomplished? Marcus shook his head. I just did what anyone would do, what anyone should do. No, Kira said softly. What you did is what humans do. And perhaps that is why the galaxy will never be the same once your species truly emerges into it. She moved back toward her ship, then stopped. Zara, you may come with me and resume your training, or you may stay here and learn what this human has to teach. The choice is yours. Zara looked at her mother, then at Marcus, then back at her mother. I choose to learn. I choose to become something new. Something better. Kira nodded slowly. Then I have one final gift for you both. There are others like you in the galaxy, Zara. Young ones who question the old ways, who dream of something better. When you are ready, seek them out. Show them what you have learned. Build something new. She entered her ship, then turned back one last time. And Marcus of the humans, know this. What you have done here will echo across the stars. My daughter will not be the only one you change. Your species' gift for compassion, for seeing the good in others even when they cannot see it themselves. It will transform civilizations. The ship began to rise, its alien engines singing their harmonious song. As it lifted into the morning sky, Marcus felt a hand slip into his. Zara stood beside him, watching her mother disappear into the vast expanse of space. Are you all right? He asked. I am free, Zara said simply. For the first time in my life, I'm free. I'm now. I'm now. I'm free now, said the lords. I am free to choose who I want to be, and I choose to be someone worthy of the trust you showed me. They stood together in the growing warmth of the morning sun, human and alien, watching the stars fade into blue sky. In the distance, Marcus could see the smoke from the mining colony's processing plants. Home was only a few hours away, but somehow, he knew that everything had changed. Not just for him and Zara, but for something much larger. He had given food to a stranded girl and gained. What? A friend? An ally? A glimpse of a future where kindness could indeed transform the galaxy? Only time would tell. But as they walked back to the transport, Marcus felt something he hadn't expected. Hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, the universe was about to become a much brighter place.